Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm the Yellow Brick Rabbit, and today we're going to talk about Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures. Again, I've finally seen the little clips. Even though they aren't available in my region, I've managed to schmooze around and find copies of the shorts so that I can see them. So if these are false copies or missing things, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about what I actually got to see. And yeah, so inclusive, Disney. So inclusive to not let anyone in the world see the shorts that you're putting out. Anyway, let's get on to talking about them. So here is the first clip of the first short.
I've placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. You're my only hope.
Alright, so 9 seconds. It took them 9 seconds to utterly ruin A New Hope for any young child who hasn't seen it yet. Anyone who saw this and then goes and watches Star Wars A New Hope, you've just ruined the first half an hour of the movie. We don't know what Leia's message is about until half an hour into the movie. So to hear it in 9 seconds before it's supposed to be evident destroys the movie. It's what drives tension through the first half an hour of the movie is finding out what on earth this message is about. We see her give the message. We see R2 go off. We know that they're after him, and we don't know what it is. We don't know what's on the droid. We don't know where he's trying to go. It's a mystery, and it's a mystery that drives your engagement with the film for the first half an hour until Luke and Obi-Wan are sitting down and the message is played.
I saw part of the message.
I seem to have found it.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire. I regret that I am unable to present my father's request to you in person, but my ship has fallen under attack, and I'm afraid my mission to bring you to Alderaan has failed. I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. My father will know how to retrieve it. You must see this droid safely delivered to him on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Now on top of that, you chose this scene to use in one of these shorts, and you left out the only, and included the dialogue of the message, but left out the entire point of the message, the purpose of the message to be sent that drives the plot of the entire first film. And I know why. I know why you left it out, because God forbid one of your strong female characters say the word "help me." Even though that line is one of the most famous lines in all of Star Wars history. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. No, that we have to cut out, along with the rest of her speech. We're just gonna... Which is kind of important. It's that line that R2 shows to Luke. It's that line that drives Luke to want to help her and to find Ben Kenobi. It's that line that is imperative to Obi-Wan leaving to go to Alderaan to help. It's that line that drives the entire plot of the movie. How did you think you were going to show this scene and leave that important detail out? Now you might think that that counters my first argument, but it doesn't. You see, they left out this important information about Ben and the history and the previous war and the rebellion against the Empire and all of this, but that just leaves out all the context. They still give the crux of the point, which is that there's vital information to the survival of the the rebellion. Get the resistance out of here. The rebellion on this R2 unit. Well, that's a huge giveaway. We don't know that. All we know is that Princess Leia puts something on R2. R2 leaves. We know that Empire is looking for plans. So we guess that the plans that they're talking about are on R2, but we don't really know. Then R2 ends up in the desert. He gives Luke this message of, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And he has no idea what on earth that is. He's like, maybe it's old Ben, I don't know. He has to go track this thing out in the desert, and then, stumbles upon Ben, and they finally get the message of what was left. Even after that message, we still don't know what the plans are. All we know is that he's carrying vital data for the Resistance. That's the line that's given away here. That's half an hour of a movie wasted. What the plans are, we don't find out until after Leia has been rescued from the Death Star. See, having seen this short, you're sitting there going, oh, there's plans to save the rebels and the Empire wants to stop that. Oh, there's plans that will save the rebels and the Empire wants to stop that. Throughout the entire first half an hour of the film, and it's just little details of what it is that are filled in along the way, which is pointless. I mean, you know the point. What the details are irrelevant. It's whatever they want it to be. That's not a story. Those are details that make a cohesive narrative. They're important, but they're far less important than having tension and mystery and build-up, which this kills. Now, you might think I've said enough about these first 9 seconds of their first clip, but I haven't. There's actually a continuity error in there that I haven't touched upon. There's a continuity error that creates a plot hole in Star Wars if you were to use this scene, and that is, why is Leia's mouth moving when she's bent over with R2? Now, some of you just said she's, recording the message. No, she isn't. In the original, we see Leia put the card in, that's starting the recording, and then it cuts to C-3PO, it comes back, and Leia is standing upright, just like she is in the hologram, and she bends over, it being the end of the message, to retrieve the recording card. That is what happens. Here, we see her bent over the entire time, and her lips moving as though she is recording the very lines that are being spoken out at that time, which means that the hologram is incorrect. This is how little they know Star Wars. Yes, in the first 9 seconds, they have managed to show just how little they understand about this franchise. They don't understand the plot, they don't understand what drives the story, they can't even remember what happens in scenes, and can't go find out when they have a project to do on it. It's lazy. It's terrible.
Minute? Where are you going? Secret mission? What plans? What are you talking about?
So yeah, this scene of them crossing the battle in the hallway is supposed to happen before they meet Leia. It happens like right after the stormtroopers enter the ship. Stormtroopers enter, firefight starts, goes around a couple corners. I think Vader comes in first, maybe it's even before that. Anyway, then you cut to a bunch of rebels running down a hallway and firing back, and then R2 and C-3PO go by the hallway. That's the actual scene where they go across a singular hallway where there is laser fire going across. Instead, we have this thing where R2 apparently can go 500 miles an hour. Don't know why. And it leads... there's no reason to have this in the minute short, except for it to lead to them seeing Vader. They see Vader come by a hallway, which makes no sense. They've just messed things up again. That does not fall into the continuity of the show. The movie. Vader is supposed to already be on the bridge choking the captain for information.
We intercepted no transmissions. This is a consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador? Commander, tear this ship apart until you found those plans and bring me the passengers. I want them alive!
So why he'd be walking down a random hallway in the ship, beyond me. That doesn't really make sense. Now Vader is in two places at the same time. How fantastic. Also, we're showing Vader to be a complete moron as he just walked by the two droids that have no interaction. He doesn't even see them. And now we get to the escape pod.
Are you sure this thing is safe? I'm going to regret this.
Alright, so now we get to the escape pod. The escape pod. Yay, the escape pod. Except they messed things up here too. They had R2 use the wrong thing to open the door, compared to the movie anyway. That's not the bit that he uses to open the door to the escape pod. It's what he uses in like Cloud City and stuff like that and other scenes, but it's not the one from here. And then it opens up and you see this porthole at the front. You see this porthole at the front that looks an awful lot like the rear exhaust bit that they actually see the ship from when they eject. Yeah, that's not the front of the ship. And you might be sitting there like, oh no, one could argue that it's probably the front of the ship and not the rear, and then why is it the wrong way around? And also, you see the front of said escape pod. You see it in the actual movie, and it doesn't look like that. It doesn't have that. What they did was not know what they were referencing in their art and made the rear the front in this escape pod. This is how little they know. This is how little they're willing to go back and watch what they are basing their thing on. Also, why is 3PO's leg gray? No, that's not silver. It's gray. It's like dark gray. Anyone who thinks that's silver needs to have their eyes checked. And yet another problem, we see R2 push C-3PO into the escape pod. That doesn't happen. Does R2 push C-3PO a few times? Yeah, he does in some locations. Mainly in the prequels. However, he doesn't do it here. What happens in this scene is that C-3PO says, well, I'm not following you in there, or something along that line, and then a stormtrooper fires at them. And it grazes the like wall right next to C-3PO. He goes, oh, okay, no.
Secret mission? What plans? What are you talking about? I'm not getting in bed. I'm going to regret this.
Not R2 moving in a way that R2 shouldn't be able to, by the way. He's like, pivoting in some weird fashion to knock him into the escape pod. That's just silly. And R2 and C-3PO are silly enough already. You don't need this. In fact, things like this just make it seem like C-3PO is in a very abusive relationship with R2. And that was the end of the first clip. Don't worry, they only got everything wrong in it. And if your kid sees it, then the first half an hour of Star Wars A New Hope, it'll just be boring as can be, because they already know what's going to happen. And what the central question of the movie is. But this is so you can enjoy it with your kids that you don't think are ready to watch Star Wars. Yeah, no, that sounds like a terrible idea, Disney. I don't know what went through those giant antenna ears of Mickey, but this is a terrible idea. This has been executed terribly, and now we have kids. Some parents will have taken your advice. Some parents will have been lulled into this, and now their kids will never enjoy the first Star Wars movie because there's nothing to enjoy. You took the mystery out of the story for the first act. And if you're bored through the first act, good luck picking up the second one with any enthusiasm. And that's what it is. I called it beforehand, and I consider myself right at this point. You did this purely out of spite at people who like Star Wars. And your entire point was to sabotage the relationship between parents and children as they bond over Star Wars. It's mean-spirited, it's not child-friendly, and it's gross. You should be ashamed of yourselves, Disney. Anyway, apparently it's taken me over 10 minutes to go through the first 1 minute clip. I mean, there's the thing. I could talk even longer about the mistakes in this. These are just the glaring ones. But I can actually talk about 10 to 15 minutes about how terrible a 1 minute short from you is. That's how little thought and preparation you put into it. That's how little care the creators put into making these. Now, I was going to do all the shorts that they brought out in one little video right now, but that seems like it's going to be a really long video. So join me next time for the next short that I'll go through. I don't know if I'll do them all. Not all of them were this terrible, but this one highlights the point, I think. So I hope you've enjoyed. And if you have, then press all the little button thingies. Do all those little things that you do for all the other YouTubers around. Thank you in advance. And hopefully you'll catch me next time.